All right, friends, here we go. Betting you part two, overtime, whatever you want to call it. We've already talked about the big time week 11 marquee matchups. But, but, what about the greasy games? What about the secondary games? What about the big time spreads? There is probably, potentially, some bets that we want on the card, and that's what we're here to find right now. Sit back, relax. You guys know the drill. Ben Reza, Matt Gajeski, we're ready to rock. Hopefully, you guys are. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Betting You, breaking down all these lines. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Sir, these are there's some big spreads that we're about to talk to. These secondary teams, beat down teams. Whew, you ready to get into the grease?
Yeah, I love the grease.
Love the grease. Love the grease. Grease is ensuing. We're not going Florida Atlantic. That's too much. All right. We start with the game that there's always one or two games that we would have got on the main slate. They just didn't quite make the cut. And that is this first game. SEC battle. Oklahoma stinks. I guess Missouri, I don't know. I mean, they're not having the best year in the world. They're still quietly fine. Got to win this game. I'm a little surprised at this line. Talk to me. Is it injury related? Is it something else?
I'm still catching up on the SEC injury reports for this morning, so I'll pull it up right now. I'm not really sure what it is. Let's see what we have.
Like what? I don't know. Missouri at home in Columbia. What's the deal?
That was my first instinct. I think just like Brady Prescorn, or excuse me, not Brady. Brady Cook being injured in their last game was probably just the biggest factor, and he's questionable here, which doesn't necessarily mean that this is positive for Missouri because he tries to play through it and he's just clearly not healthy. But they had the bye, so maybe Brady Cook is a little bit better in this spot. I don't truly know, and you're not going to know. He's probably going to play through it in pregame warmups, and if he's limited, this team is probably cooked. They don't really have a competent opponent on the other side. That's just like a long-term thing. Drew Pine is absolutely inept, so you basically remove one part of your game through the air. Hurts everyone. Deoweese, who, let's see, he was not on the injury report. It was Mookie Cooper's doubtful. Nate Noel is still questionable with his back injury. Other than that, just Khalil Jacobs, it looks like they listed on their injury report. For Oklahoma, had a lot of guys flagged, and as usual, most of their receivers are out. They still have Jaleel Farouk and Deion Burks as potential options that'll play. They're both listed as questionable. Javonte Barnes got hurt in the main game, and he's listed questionable, as is Sawchuk. Not that he matters. He sucks. And then they're still down a bunch of O-linemen. So Oklahoma, probably still the more injured team overall. As far as like stylistics go, sorry, I just don't have anything pulled up because these injuries I was looking up. I think Missouri is just the better team, but I don't know. And I'm not going to play anything because of injuries. It's kind of a waste of time.
I don't know what to, like I said, I haven't had a feeling on Oklahoma all year. Shorted them early in the year, and then we saw the quarterback change, and they had no receivers at one point. I guess all in all, the prudent move might be to pass here, but there's a 3.5 out there, and that has caught my eye.
I think Missouri is better, but not if Brady Cook is hurt, and you're not going to know.
You're
maybe
really
live, not. I don't know if you're watching this game and you think Brady Cook looks fine, take it. But
yeah, Saturday night, so you'll have some time.
Drew Pine is worse than any quarterback that will be on the field. Jackson Arnold, Hawkins, Brady Cook, whoever is playing quarterback for either team, Drew Pine is the worst one that will be out there if he plays.
It's hard to argue with that. Well, we go from there to middling SEC to middling Big Ten. Minnesota, Rutgers. Minnesota's quietly gotten it together, I think. I think it's pretty fair to say. 6-point spread here, 6.5. Is that what you see? Do you think they keep it going on the road, or does Rutgers find a way to maybe be a little more balanced and get something going?
You got to figure out who's playing for Rutgers. That's just going to be a theme probably through the rest of the season with a lot of these teams. They are coming off their bye, and the Big Ten does their injury reporting right before kickoff. So that's when you'll get some information. Just know that they're not required to be accurate in any conference. But some of the players they've been missing, Bryce Felter at guard, Victor Konopka at tight end, he's out for the year. Kenny Fletcher, tight end, is out for the year. Sam Brown, their change of pace. Kyle Monangai got hurt in their last game. They've now had the bye, so who knows. On defense, Mohamed Torre has been out for the whole season. Wesley Bailey, who previously returned from injury, just missed again. Aaron Lewis missed again. Those are two edge rushers. Malcolm Ray, their defensive tackle, was hurt in the game. And they've been hemorrhaging production to running backs lately, and I think it's largely just injury-based. 6.3 yards per carry to Joe Marks from USC, 8.3 to Tawi Walker. The only team they stopped on the ground was UCLA, who doesn't run the ball and can't run the ball. On the other side, Minnesota is just a far healthier team. The only players that I have flagged for injury were Ja Joyner on the edge. He just played limited snaps. And then Tyler Cooper, same thing at guard on offense. So they're by far the healthier team. Brosmer's been playing a lot better. 68% completion, 7.1 yards per attempt, 8 big-time throws, 5 turnover-worthy plays. He has an excellent offensive line in front of him, 60th in pass blocking, 19th in run blocking. Daniel Jackson has actually been awesome at wide receiver. He's been a legitimate difference maker for this team. And then you always have Darius Taylor to fall back on, who seemed to have found a new facet of his game. He's been awesome as a pass catcher too, not something they asked him to do last year. And then their defense is 20th overall. They do not have a weakness. Rutgers is a very one-dimensional offense. I guess, like the only interesting thing for me on the Rutgers side is Kaliakmanis and he's playing his old team, but I don't think that matters at all. I am interested in Minnesota in this game. I did not take it, though.
Definitely the side that I lean to as well. Rutgers has been a pain point all year for me. I was on them quite a bit, and it's just stalled out. It's just not a great team, honestly.
They just don't have any depth, and their entire team got hurt.
That doesn't help either. You mentioned they're just being torched on the ground, and I know Minnesota's not the run it 50 times strategy, but they still can run the ball. So
I'm surprised they haven't done that. I don't
really understand that either. Well, it's working though. It's working. All right, Miami keeps it entertaining. If nothing else, every game they somehow try to see how close they can go to losing and then see if they can win. That's cool, except when you ultimately get caught. They haven't got caught yet. Do you think they get caught here? Georgia Tech at times has shown flashes this year, but all in all, Miami is still a double-digit favorite.
No, I'm probably going to bet Miami, assuming this gets to a 10. I'm not going to take it at 10.5. Otherwise, the other reason this line might move the opposite direction is if Georgia Tech gets Haynes King back. And in that case, I'll just continue to wait and take Miami. If Haynes King is ruled out, it moves the other way. I still think Miami's live, but I just am not sure what number you're going to get. Haynes King seems like a true game time decision for this. He just keeps getting labeled day to day. A couple other injuries on defense for Georgia Tech. Kyle Effort at linebacker, Omar Daniels, defensive back, and Saeed Gibbs got hurt in their game. They've had the bye, so you never know with this team. And this conference doesn't do injury reporting, so don't expect to know. For Miami, other than, I guess, some of the players that have been out for a while, Isaiah Alston on the edge, he missed again. And Simeon Barrow got hurt in the game. It looks like he's going to be okay, according to Cristobal, so they should be at mostly full strength for this contest. Miami's just a significantly better team. So if you have them playing up to their full capacity, I think the spread should be closer to 14 points. There's just no real incentive to take it right now. Georgia Tech continuing to take money. And I don't know. Miami has been a team I think that's been underrated in the market the whole season. And they continue to cover a lot of spreads. It was really just that weird Cal game. It's not pretty all the time, but then they'll end up winning and getting you there late. Georgia Tech is 77th on defense. They're 93rd in coverage. Good luck stopping Miami when those are your metrics. And they're better up front, but they're injured. We just went through a lot of the injuries there. Miami's still 12th in defensive efficiency, despite some of the nonsense they put on the field. Where Miami's actually really struggled this year is special teams. They're 83rd, and it's cost them not in the win-loss column yet, but obviously some of their margin of victories and stuff could have been much wider if Miami didn't have really poor special teams right now. It's the Hurricanes are past. There's a decent chance I bet this game.
Yeah, I mean, Miami's offense is insanely explosive, and at times, even against Duke, I mean, I was like, oh my God, they're going to lose. And then they covered a 3-touchdown spread. They high octane. You mentioned the Haynes Kings news. It's kind of just a lost season for Georgia Tech. They had flashes at one point, but I'm with you right now. There's 10.5s out there. There are no 10s. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. Ah, boy. Okay. Hey, this is actually good. I was going to say I don't want to talk about this team, but I do because it gets me a little airtime to Victory Laps SMU. And I'm talking about Virginia and Pittsburgh. Virginia is a 7.5 point underdog in Pitt. Pittsburgh was just humiliated and destroyed and smoked by my team, the SMU Mustangs, that now have Matt Leinert's son coming in the future. That's neither here nor there. But simple question, really. Pitt on the bounce back, or do you think that there are underlying issues that can be replicated?
I definitely don't want Pitt on the bounce back. The thing I was most interested in this game was an over. Not sure where it is now. I haven't looked at this recently. 57.5, so that's remained pretty consistent. I think pacing in this game should be pretty good. Pittsburgh's playing awfully fast this year. They're 4th in the country. Virginia is 22nd. On defense, Virginia is 102nd and Pitt is 42nd. So I think there are potentially some avenues to exploit here. First up, injury-wise, Pitt has a lot of them this year. And they're also just like, for everything that Narduzzi does, he sometimes will make short-sighted decisions. In the game against SMU, he benched 2 of his starting corners, Rashad Battle and Taman Lyon, for missing tackles. I'll tell you what, that didn't help the team. The backups that went in there got absolutely annihilated by Kevin Jennings. So, yeah, I mean, I get you want to punish your guys for making stupid mistakes that you can't make, but at what cost? Fitzsimmons at defensive tackle was limited again. They've had injuries on defense all season long. Their 2 offensive linemen were hurt in the game. So this is not a fully healthy Pitt team, especially on defense. For Virginia, Jason Hammond missed, and James Jackson, that's a defensive tackle and a linebacker. They are getting Antonio Cleary back in the back end, which I think is positive for that team. But they've had players in and out of the lineup all year, and it doesn't really help them ranking 102nd in total defense. And I think if you just look at who Pitt has played this year, it's been a very easy schedule, and they've honestly been pretty fortunate to get through this. Kevin Jennings just got them for 12.2 yards per attempt. They beat up on McCord. They played Mendoza, Jacoby Criswell, Garrett Green, Brennan Sorsby, who had 7.8 yards per attempt. It hasn't been the best slate of quarterbacks that this Pitt defense has faced. So I kind of call into question their 42nd ranking overall when SMU just comes to town and puts up 12.2 yards per attempt and 7 yards per carry on the ground. Virginia's defense is atrocious. Jacoby Criswell was at 9.8 yards per attempt, Klubnik at 8.8, Shug at 7.5, Castellanos 8.5, Vasco from Coastal Carolina at 10.6. So I think Pitt scores as long as we don't have the crazy turnover-worthy plays that Eli Holstein has now been victimized by. He's 19 on the year. But those are, I guess, not as big of a concern in this matchup, you would think, as long as he's just not a complete moron. So it's over or pass. I haven't taken this.
Might tell you on that over, you mentioned that Pitt is playing at the speed of light. And I think Virginia can keep up. You know, I've been really not a fan of Pittsburgh all year. I'm not laying 7.5, but yeah, I might jump on these overs. There's been a handful of them in the same range all year. I've been kind of trying to jump on, and I think this might be one of them. So, yeah, Pittsburgh's just simply not that good. Hate to say it. From more irrelevant ACC teams to the same thing, Syracuse, who somehow came back against Virginia Tech, I'll never know. They take on Boston College. I honestly don't remember the last time I've seen Boston College. Maybe it was Louisville. I don't know if they played since then. It's a pseudo pick'em. It's inside 3. These are greasy teams in their own right. Do you have an angle here?
No, a lot of these games are just requests.
Yeah.
It would be Syracuse or pass. I'm no fan of Boston College. But Syracuse has been so volatile on the play of Kyle McCord. He's now up to 15 turnover-worthy plays, 12 interceptions. So he has run bad in those regards. Their offensive line is pretty good, 60th in pass blocking, 63rd in run blocking. But they have a ton of injuries, especially on defense. They did get back Marlo Wax, but then they lost Deion Wilson at defensive tackle, Kevin Jobody at defensive tackle, Barry Buxton at safety. Dennis Jaquez missed their last game on the edge. It's been an atrocious unit, and they just got diced up by Colin Schlee, the backup for Virginia Tech. And since before that game, I mean, Eli Holstein got them. CJ Bailey was at nearly 14 yards per attempt. I mean, the defense has been atrocious, and it's not getting any better because of the guys they've lost. But their offense is still humming. as long as Kyle McCord is taking care of the ball, and even in some of those games, he's run poorly. You know, in the game where he had 5 interceptions, he had more turnover-worthy plays than picks. Excuse me, more interceptions than turnover-worthy plays. For Boston College, they're also very injured on defense. They lost Amari Jackson. He's going to be out for the year at corner. Jalen Cheek at safety. Cole Batson at safety. Cam Arnold at linebacker. Carter Davis at corner. So they are very, very hurt in the secondary, which is why I think there might be an angle on Syracuse if you can stomach it. They're an air raid offense facing a secondary that is just absolutely depleted. I'm going to pass, man. I'm just not going to bet Syracuse until some of these injuries shake out. But you can probably find them at a dog price still. It was 1.5. It's very close. Both these defenses are awful, and Boston College certainly has holes in their power ratings because of where they're losing guys on defense.
Do you have any interest if it hits 3?
+3 for Syracuse?
Yeah, there's a 2.5 out there.
Maybe I would wait to see the injuries before kickoff. I'm definitely not betting it before Saturday. There's so many injuries on both these teams.
Yeah, and that's the nature of, you get to the end of the year and you're just going to have to find that. It's actually, you've teed me up because that's what you do. Good job. It's a perfect reason to mention what we've got going on with Tails. You want to know, wait, what are these injuries? Well, we're not going to have a show right before that, but we're in the marketplace. Our Discords, we're in there. We're answering questions, dropping plays, reacting to news. You see it right here. You can get access to these. You can always sign up, but I'm going to show you right now on the fly. Why not just get it for free? And what I mean by that is you go to the link. It's going to be in the description of the video. It takes you to this page. It says, sign up with our partners to get expert picks for free. Those would be the Tails Marketplace. You have all these offers. If you go to this page and you claim any of these offers, not only are you going to get the bonuses from Underdog or DraftKings or FanDuel or BetMGM or Bet365, it does not matter. For each one that you claim, you get a full month of a Tails package. So you claim 2 of them, you get a free month of me, a free month of Matt. You could get 2 months of one of us. You get 2 months of somebody else. It does not matter. It's completely up to you. This is the best way to get involved. You're getting bonuses and a free month of Tails for each one you claim. You got to go through this link and you follow these instructions right here. It is that simple. Wanted to make sure I mentioned that because it does not get better trying to stay on top of this news as it rolls in on Saturday. You also get some little CLV action, these bets. All right, now we're going to the Big 12. We've got West Virginia, our nemesis, against Cincinnati. Actually, a team that I've kind of liked this year. They're not a sizable favorite, but they're a pretty rightful favorite at home here. Is this another injury-plagued game, or is there an angle here?
Yeah, it's an injury-plagued game, and I think the only time Cincinnati really did us wrong was against Pitt in week 2.
When they went, what'd they go? Delay a game on the defense style. Remember that?
Yeah, that was very frustrating. I do remember that because I lost to that. But yeah, Garrett Green's not playing in this game. He was listed doubtful, so now you go to Nico Marchiol as the backup, who's actually been serviceable for this team. There hasn't really been a marked difference between him and Garrett Green. The only thing is yards per carry and efficiency on the ground changes a little bit. Green's at 6.2 yards per carry. Marchiol is at 3.3. Otherwise, their passing stats are, if you were to extrapolate Marchiol for the Green sample, it would look very, very similar. Their turnover-worthy plays are right in line. This O-line is still awesome, though. 34th in pass blocking, 9th in run blocking. The only guy they missed on that unit was Wyatt Meelam at tackle. But they've been able to run the ball efficiently. That's the weakness of Cincinnati's defense. They basically have Dante Corleone and no one else up front. And they come in 69th in run defense. They're much better in coverage. That's definitely not how West Virginia is going to attack this game. But then on the other side, like West Virginia ranks 133rd in coverage. They did not shore up their secondary. Brennan Sorsby in this passing attack with Xavier Henderson have been very efficient, and that should be just a clear avenue for success. This West Virginia defense has allowed at least 9.2 yards per pass attempt to 3 straight signal callers: Noah Fafita, Avery Johnson, Rocco Becht. The only guy they recently held in check, the only guy below 7.5 yards per attempt was Alan Bowman, who just can't get out of his own way. So, I mean, this is by far the worst secondary in the P4. I don't think anyone is stopping Sorsby in this passing attack in this game. And then how much is Green worth to the spread? I tend to think not that much, and I guess the market kind of agrees. West Virginia is taking money despite playing on the road here. And now it's not a far road trip. I mean, they're taking a bus to the game. They're not even flying. but I think it's a Cincinnati or pass situation. I'll wait and see. There's definitely no reason to bet Cincinnati right now, especially with West Virginia taking money.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that, but you mentioned there's no rush on this, and it's dropped to 4.5 in some spots, not crazy juice. So you want to try to time that perfectly. And I'm with you. I'm more interested on the Cincinnati side. Here, you mentioned Green. That it's just been an adventure. Every West Virginia game has been an adventure so far this year. Now we get to the blowout portion of the show. Get ready. It's about to get dangerously insane with name your score style situations. And we start out west with the Ducks in Eugene. Honestly, I thought this would be higher. I really did. It's 24.5 against Maryland. Oregon is the best team in the country right now. I assume you don't think that they're in any danger here.
I don't think they're in any danger. I guess only real updates. Tez Johnson got hurt in their last game, their star receiver, as did Marcus Harper at guard. I do not think it matters. Maryland, I don't know what Loxley was doing this offseason. Apparently, he just hit the beach because he didn't bring anyone who was talented at any position, and they lost a ton of their roster. They're 113th in coverage. Good luck against Dylan Gabriel. You're going to need it if you're even going to cover the spread. And then this offensive line lost most of their talent. This is Maryland we're talking about. They're 128th in pass blocking, 133rd in run blocking. Oregon just returned Birch, their star pass rusher. They're already 26th there. They've now cultivated some depth because of his absence. Like Mateo Uagalele has been awesome in his stead. Billy Edwards is quietly, I thought Billy Edwards was going to have an awful year, which was just straight up wrong. Bad analysis on my part. He somehow completed 68% of his passes for 7.4 yards per attempt, 21 big-time throws, and 9 turnover-worthy plays. Some of that is helped by having a star receiver in Ty Felton. But just this infrastructure is so bad around him. I was very surprised that he's been able to have even anything close to a season like this. This is maybe the worst offensive line in the P4. 128th in pass blocking, 133rd in run blocking. There are only 134 teams when you start including the G5. This unit is atrocious. And their defense, already mentioned, not stopping anyone, especially through the air. I think Oregon does name their score. That's always a problem for me because we have a sample now of Oregon in these games not naming their score. So I don't know. Are you going to take Oregon? Are you going to
I'm not taking Maryland, so we can get that out of the way. I was thinking about, what do you think about maybe trying to, and this is apparently off the board, look to a first half? Or is that just too greasy in itself?
I don't think it's greasy. I don't know.
Let me see what the spread is. I mean, it might be like, if it's 13.5, I might do it.
They don't really have any look at
is.
the whole year. The rest of their schedule is Maryland, Wisconsin, and Washington. They shouldn't be anything less than like 10 points being generous. Probably closer to 14 in any game the rest of the year.
The problem with the team like Oregon is that you mentioned, I mean, they have real things going on. So they're not going to worry about how many points they beat Maryland by. Their only goal is to optimize their roster for the playoffs. So
they've already lost a couple guys too.
That's what I mean. Like 24 and a hook is not ideal. 14 and a hook is not ideal. What's the total?
The total in the game is 57.5. I don't hate that. Maryland plays fast. They're 37th. Oregon is just Oregon's like Alabama from last year, where they don't really play fast, but they're so explosive that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. So 57.5. If Maryland gave you 17, that probably does it.
I think that would. Yeah. I don't think that's out of the range of possibility. This defense has given up points at times. Right now, the implied team totals are Maryland 16 and a quarter, Oregon 41 and a quarter. It's pretty high. The first half total is 30.5.
I kind of like that. I can see like
it's juiced a little bit to the under, I see.
Yeah, 30.5. Billy Edwards, what are you doing to me?
He's doing his part. Loxley didn't give him anything to work with outside
Maryland's
of
a
Ty Felton.
disgrace. Maryland is awful. Not a fan of calling for people's jobs. Not a fan of that coaching staff. Sorry. Just not a fan. I like Maryland too. I root for them. Maryland basketball. They got some dudes. But that's neither here nor there. Tennessee. I don't know. For a little while, it was kind of a little freaky last week against Kentucky. They just were not playing well. There were some weird plays. Ultimately, they got it done, and they were off a bye, and now they should be all systems go here. This is basically the same line. Is there an angle here with Mississippi State, who I think we all agree is the worst team in the SEC?
Yeah, they are. It sucks because they've been a little feisty at times, but Tennessee is significantly better. I just think this team has weaknesses, and their schedule is easy, so they're looking at basically a walk into the playoff if they don't mess up, which is kind of insane considering the teams they've played. In the SEC, here's who they've rattled off games against. Well, I'll include non-con. Chattanooga, of course, just FCS. NC State, who is a corpse. Kent State. Then they played Oklahoma. You guys have seen how that's turned out. Arkansas has been a little better than expectation, but this is still a bottom 4 team in the SEC. They played Florida, a game that went into overtime that they should have lost. And then the Alabama game is their best data point so far this year. But then they struggled against Kentucky. I have a lot of questions how good Tennessee actually is at this point. And they're healthy too. So I'm not really sure what the deal is here. The only guy they've lost right now is Keenan Peely. This is the exact opposite of Mississippi State. And I have not looked at their injury report this morning. I'm sure it is about as vast as Ole Miss is. But Mario Craver, their best receiver, the 4-star freshman, he missed their last game. They have a ton of injuries on defense. Up front, back end, it doesn't matter. I don't think we need to get through all of them. I have about 8 guys flagged to potentially miss this game. And they're already on a backup quarterback who actually hasn't been that bad. Michael Van Buren, 57% completion, 7.8 yards per attempt. But it's tough when your O-line is 100th in pass blocking, 113th in run blocking. Your best receiver might be out again. Your defense isn't doing you any favors. They played UMass last week, so let's not get too crazy. Before that, 10.8 yards per attempt to Taylon Green, 8.7 to Wegman, 9.6 to Beck, 10.5 to Arch, 9.6 to Graham Mertz, 10.2 to Tucker Gleason of Toledo. I mean, this defense can't defend anyone, and part of it is injuries. But this is another one where if Tennessee can get their act together ever in a game, they should absolutely body this team. But Iamale Ava is going through a lot of potential issues, I guess, here. If you want to play Tennessee is everything to play for this year. It's all in front of them. They have one hard game the rest of the way. It's next week against Georgia. Otherwise, it's UTEP and Vandy to close the year. I rarely try to evaluate look-ahead spots, but this is, if you were to drop a look-ahead spot, this is the premier one for any team the entire season. This is the one that you could actually look to and say, all right, they need to win Georgia if they want to make the playoff. This game, as a 23.5-point favorite, they might just coast through because of that Georgia game, which I hate doing. It's very hard to quantify. You have to predict the motivation for these teams. And of course, they can't lose to Mississippi State. They need to win this game, but Georgia is by far the more important game on their schedule.
What about over 61?
I could be talked into that.
I kind of like that.
One of the problems with Tennessee is I don't think they've faced a great schedule, as you guys know. And coming into the year, I had a lot of questions with their secondary. They're awesome up front, so this isn't going to matter. Probably against Mississippi State, who has a terrible defense, or a terrible offensive line. The pass rush in a lot of games has just gotten home so fast that Tennessee's been able to mask their defensive weaknesses. So I think the real question with the total is, can Mississippi State protect long enough to potentially exploit the weaknesses in Tennessee's secondary? And I'm just not sure. But, if Tennessee takes their foot off the gas, maybe it doesn't matter. Pace is awesome in this game, to your point. Mississippi State is 6th, Tennessee's 24th. And Mississippi State is not going to slow down. That's just the Jeff Lebby offense.
I mean, I hate to not even cherry pick, but even look at Mississippi State. Not that they've been competitive games. Mississippi State has scored on everybody. Not a ton, but they've played big-time schools. They weren't blanked, far from it. I mean, I look at their schedule. 28 points against Florida, 13 points against Texas, 31 points against Georgia, 24 points against A&M, 25 points against Arkansas. If you get anything like that, you're going over 61 every time.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And you might not even need them to do it on the first team defense.
No. You have multiple outs. They could, or it could be like 38-3 at halftime. And then the game finishes, 48-20 because Tennessee pulled everybody.
Craver is probable the number 1 receiver. That's good.
Mississippi State has been okay, and their defense is atrocious. So I think they're going to score.
Yeah, their injury report is still not kind to them on defense, but they did get their number 1 receiver back at least.
Yeah, sign me up. All right, now this takes it to a new level, because I mean Purdue is just.
This was a request. If you don't want to talk about this one, we don't have to.
No. I mean, this could be a 2-minute. It's pretty simple. I get this question a lot in Discord, and I say the same thing every time. If Ohio State wants to, they can win this game by 60 if they want to, but they also could win it by 28 or 31. It's a true name your score situation. I don't know what you do with that.
Yeah, one of our subscribers is going to the game, so he wanted to bet.
Respect it. I would bet the over on Ohio State's team total or something like that.
I think that's the best one. I was suggesting the under, just the overall game under. But the problem with that is it's 53, and Ohio State could score that on their own if they wanted to.
Definitely. I mean, Purdue's live to not score.
They're definitely live to not score. I wouldn't. What I'll say, if you're in a situation like this, you're going to a game, or I don't know, maybe this game's on TV and you just want some action on it. Make sure you wait for the Big Ten injury report, because Ohio State just might flat hold out a lot of guys because this game doesn't matter, nor does their next one. It's Northwestern. This is not a look ahead. Their only important game left on the schedule is Indiana in their second to last week of the year. So they might just get guys healthy. Like Tyleik Williams has been hurt for this team. Who knows what injuries and guys, nicks and bruises they have behind the scenes. Like, that's a concern. So that's why the injury report's important. And then you never know with Purdue, too. I mean, this team has been absolutely atrocious and battered by injuries. I guess to break them down briefly, allegedly they're going to use both quarterbacks in this game, Hudson Card and Ryan Brown. They're completely different signal callers, so I don't really know what the point is. Ton of injuries on offense. Denylon Morissette, Jaden Dixon-Veal, those are 2 receivers. Joshua Sales at tackle. Their defense has been absolutely gutted, which is another problem. Even if Ohio State puts in like backups, okay, like do we see Julian Sayin and these? I mean, like every receiver on this roster is a 5-star, 4-star. Same thing with the running backs. Do they just crush Purdue even with their second team? Like, that's live to happen. So it's a very, very difficult game to bet.
I mean, if Ohio State held out all 22 of their starters, they would still be heavily favored. Would they not?
Yeah, they would be favored. I mean, who scored? Didn't Brandon Enos score last week? Like, Brandon Enos would start on every single Big Ten team, except maybe Oregon in this conference.
Yeah, they got.
I can't think of it. You'd be the best player on Michigan's offense.
That's not saying much. Yeah. I think. Again, treat the game for what it is. If you're looking for action on it, I would go very granular and try to focus on one area of it. Not a great game to bet, though. This is a game, actually. Glad we're talking about this. Oklahoma State, I mean, it's just been a complete flop of a year. Their defense, garbage. This spread is ballooned, though. It's up to 12 now. What is causing that? Is it just simply people buying on TCU? Is there more to this story? Because I was interested in TCU as well.
It's getting to the point where I'm interested in Oklahoma State.
I know.
I don't think TCU is that good.
How many points is this? Has got to be a lot.
66.5, I think, was 65.5 last time I saw.
Yeah, 66.5 now.
Which makes sense. Oklahoma State 13th in pace, TCU 15th. And Oklahoma State is by far the worst defense. That's really what's driving this difference. Oklahoma State at times has not been horrific on offense. Well, let's get to that in a second. On defense, they're 131st. They're 128th against the run. TCU is a one-dimensional offense. Basically, they can't run the ball. But Oklahoma State can't do anything on defense. So when they're facing a TCU passing attack, I mean, I don't think there's any way they stop Betch and McAllister and Williams and JP Richardson. They're 117th in coverage. Can Oklahoma State keep up? TCU is actually 22nd in coverage as well. Their defense has problems. They can't rush the passer. They're decent against the run, but they defend the pass very well. That's all Oklahoma State can do. Their run blocking has dropped to 83rd. Ollie Gordon, I think he's hurt, man. I can't think of any other explanation for a fall off like this. And he has been in and out of games. So who knows? But I also think there's players injured on this team. Dazon Stribling hasn't played full snaps in 2 straight weeks. Rashad Owens, he missed part of the last game. Talon Shetron, he only played like 4 snaps in their last game. And Stribling in particular is the guy that has been limited in practice and stuff. And I watched one of their games, he just continually was exiting the game and getting his ankles retaped, like continually. So I have questions about health for this team. They're down 2 offensive linemen, 3 on defense. And the healthier team by far is this TCU team. It's getting too far. I don't think I could bet this, perhaps jumping in live, but the injuries are scaring me away from Oklahoma State, especially the offensive ones, which have been their only good players all year. Like Stribling, you cannot play without him.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's just been a mess of a season. And this one, like I said, that line has really moved. So I don't know. I'm not betting Oklahoma State. I just can't do that, but I might have to.
In a previous week of the year, I probably would have, but I'm, as you guys can probably tell, being far less aggressive with the horrible season I've had.
Don't worry, it's gonna be a big rally. Tide is turning. Arkansas State.
Last week I didn't lose a game, but I bet like 6 of them, so that was nice.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean. Louisiana quietly. I was asking you on Tuesday, what do you think would happen if Boise goes down? Maybe it is Louisiana. I don't know. They got to clear this hurdle. Think they will. I am a little surprised though. It's this many points, to be completely honest.
Me too. I was considering betting Louisiana Monroe, or excuse me, I'm on the wrong game.
I was gonna say Warhawks. We could talk about them too.
I was looking at, and I just did a Control F search on Ben Wooldridge, and it brought me to James Madison, what they allowed to Ben Wooldridge. So excuse me. In this game, it's Arkansas State, who I like actually a lot more than Louisiana Monroe. They've been better since they entered conference play, which I guess is to be expected. They played Tulsa, Michigan, and Iowa State, and then they had to bring in Gruden to help Jalen Raynor's confidence side. This is why I hate, and I know these schools get paid a ton of money to go play these elite teams, but you crushed Jalen Raynor's confidence so bad that you needed to bring in outside consultants to help build him back up. And his season-long stats are still horrifying from those games he played, not to mention he got hurt in those games. Anyway, in this contest, Louisiana is the rightful favorite. It's a question of how many points is correct. They're the healthier team. The only players they're really missing are Cortland Flowers. At safety, he's suspended indefinitely, and Caleb Anderson, a depth defensive back. Arkansas State's actually pretty healthy too. The only one I think we're going to see miss is James Reed, defensive back. They have not been healthy all season long because of the non-con they decided to play, just getting guys killed in games where they're overmatched talent-wise. But they returned 2 starting offensive linemen recently, so perhaps they're a little better than the 121st pass blocking unit, 75th run blocking unit. Rayner, I think, is better than what he showed just based on recent play and what we saw last year. I also think most of the skill position players are a little better too. A lot of them are down transfers from strong programs like Jaquez Cross, Courtney Jackson. We don't need to get into all of them. I think they can hang with Louisiana, at least to some degree. So I had interest in betting them against the spread. Louisiana, for as good as they've been, they have shown cracks at times, largely against better competition. But they're aligned 69th in pass blocking, 36th in run blocking. That's not that far off from Arkansas State's. Defense, Arkansas State's 126th. Louisiana's 93rd. That's not that far off. Louisiana has been horrible defending the run. They rank 101st there. And you could just look at the individual opponents they've faced. RJ Martinez, in their most recent game against Texas State, 8.1 yards per attempt through the air. On the ground, Ismail Mahdi, 5.9 yards per carry. They allowed 10.2 yards per carry to Braden Bennett of Coastal Carolina, 5.7 to Kanye Roberts of App State, 8.7 to Southern Miss's Rodriguez Clark. So I do think that you should see Arkansas State run the ball on this team, but I'm just not sure Arkansas State has really any answers to stop Louisiana either. Wooldridge has been awesome. Only 3 turnover-worthy plays. He's taking care of the ball just with excellent play. But I mean, this Louisiana team has run pretty close to the sun. Every single one of their most recent games has been inside 10 points, margin of victory or defeat. Just a lot of coin flip games they've been playing, and they have been running hot. Like some of their coin flip games are against like App State, Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss was only a 10-point margin of victory. I think this team is a little overrated, and it's getting close to the point where I want to just take the other side at Arkansas State. I was hoping for a 17, but I don't know if we're going to get there.
I don't know if we're going to get there, but we are firmly over 2 touchdowns, and I think this is in range.
I'm probably going to take a 16 regardless, but
yeah. And both teams are coming off I guess, they did not play on Saturday, so they've got some time to get a little healthy. I think that helps Arkansas State a little more. It's been weird. I watched that game from start to finish against Troy. It was one of the more bizarre games I've ever seen for Arkansas State. They still managed to eke it out. Rainer, though, I think they make enough plays. I think this is going to be competitive. I'm on Arkansas State with you.
They definitely don't have a defense. They're going to need to score, but I think
they're going to have to score. They're going to have to score, but they can do that. They're kind of built like that.
This is one thing I don't understand. They returned 10 starters on their defense. I do not know how they've been so bad. They're not super hurt either.
Honestly, this is another game. I've said this like 4 times. I don't like betting overs, but man, this is another over that if you told me you wanted to back, I could see it.
You just need Louisiana to kind of cooperate. They're really slow. They either need to be explosive or, I don't know, play it outside their range a little bit. But Arkansas State's fast and their defense is bad. Louisiana's defense is bad.
Explosive plays should negate some of the tempo problems, I would think.
I agree.
Army's just quietly doing their thing. I would love nothing more than to see them keep it going. They will be swiftly destroyed in Yankee Stadium soon enough by Notre Dame, unfortunately for all of us. But in the meantime, let's just enjoy what Army's doing. I hope it doesn't end right here. I think it might, though. This is a weird spot against North Texas.
If you gave me North Texas at anything close to 100%, I would be dropping the absolute general wealth, whatever moniker you call it, in the spot.
Yeah, the infinite money glitch. Okay.
Yeah, but they're so hurt. Their defensive backfield is atrocious right now. They had 3 starters get arrested in the offseason. Injuries haven't been kind to that unit. And I mean, Bryson Daly, I guess we should start there before I, bury the lead. He missed their last game with a foot infection. I don't know if he's Army. Does he have trench foot? What's going on here? But when he's out there, they can actually throw the ball better than previously. So I guess those coverage numbers do matter, but we know Army's going to try to run the triple. And it's not like North Texas has been good at defending the run either. They're above average. It's by far their best unit, but they're still 71st. So can North Texas keep up and score on Army? I think the answer is probably yes. This Army team has played an atrocious schedule. Lehigh, FAU, who's atrocious. Rice, that's a decent win. Rice is a pretty good program, but they fired their head coach. I don't know. Temple, Tulsa, UAB, East Carolina with their quarterback problems. They also fired their coach. And Air Force. I mean, this legitimately, outside of what Liberty's playing, this might be the easiest schedule in the entire country. Now you have to face by far your toughest opponent in North Texas. Chandler Morris has been awesome for this team. 64% completion, 8.2 yards per attempt, 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, 4 yards per carry behind a bad O-line, 103rd in pass blocking, 130th in run blocking. They do have good receivers, and they've gotten some of them back healthy. Damon Ward returned in their last game, and they also have DT Sheffield. So I think this team can score on Army. I'm just not sure if they can defend enough in this game. If you play this, I think it's North Texas or pass. I'm actually, right on the fence of betting this. It's in no man's land, so there's no rush to bet it either way. And the total I don't think is really playable. It's super high despite Army's triple option pace. But man, I want to bet against Army at some point this year. And I want to do it before the Notre Dame game because that's going to be like 17 points.
Oh, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
100%. This does seem like the spot. And so the spread is bouncing wildly. There's 4.5s out there. There's also a 6.5 that you could get.
And of course, the one I have is right in between at 5.5.
Yeah. So keep an eye on that. Army is just not that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Army is just not that good. I want them to be good, but they're not. Awesome.
Do you know who they have rest of the way other than Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think they have. I just looked at this. I think like UTSA and somebody else.
Navy.
Oh yeah, well obviously Navy. Yeah.
Man, how did they get away with this? I know it's their first year in the AAC.
Yeah.
What do you not play Tulane? You don't play Memphis?
Nope.
Yep. How did they get the schedule?
Yeah, that sums it up. That's who they dodge is Tulane and Memphis. And there's
anyone else with a pulse? USF's not on here.
Yep. It's bad. I worry about. I mean, it's not worried because Army's had an awesome year, but they're gonna certainly have one loss, probably two.
Maybe there's okay. So coming into the year, we both thought Navy was better. I still think Navy's better.
So do I.
Maybe we just get the generational wealth spot against Navy in this.
It might be. I mean, I don't even know what that's. I would assume Navy will be favored, but I don't know exactly what it'll look like. Let's talk about Navy. Navy's next up on this. So Navy's got USF, one of the schools, South Florida, the Bulls. Another competitive spread here. What do you think? Can the triple option, even though they've evolved, cause some problems? Or is this similar to Army? Could both of the academies be in trouble here?
USF has taken money after their last game. So how much of that do you think is FAU being atrocious or Bryce Archie actually being good?
More that FAU's really bad. I tend to lean more into that. It was a game. I mean, South Florida, to their credit, you hung 44 points. Yeah, this Archie character, but honestly, what did he really do? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I did look at them this week. USF was gashing them on the ground, like crazy, crazy bad rushing numbers.
They were. And it's
like 6 yards a carry or something stupid.
Yeah, and I don't know if I buy that being something they can replicate. They barely beat UAB. They got crushed by Memphis, and they were nearly shut out. Same thing against Tulane. They played Miami. They beat Southern Miss, which isn't saying much, and then they got annihilated by Alabama. So I think this is putting a lot of weight into that FAU game, which I'm not really buying. Navy lost to Rice in their last game. Rice is better than I think a lot of people actually understand, and they just have been kind of coached their way out of games. So I don't know. I still think Navy is kind of a buy low in this spot. There's so many fatal flaws to this USF offense when you play good teams. Their O-line is horrific. 102nd in pass blocking, 127th in run blocking. They're on a backup quarterback right now. Maybe Byron Brown returns, but I don't know if they're going to play him now with Archie playing somewhat decent, I guess. I mean, I don't really know what to say about him. We don't have a huge sample. I don't think it's been great. I mean, you look at his efficiency metrics. 2 turnover-worthy plays already and like a really low sample for this guy. Can't run the ball at all. Byron can. So, I mean, he's just different. And then Horvath has still been awesome. This offensive line for Navy is great. You're facing a defense for USF, which is 90th. They are a little better at run defense, but just like run defense versus coverage, they're 72nd versus 103rd. It's not like this is a good run defense. For the first time all year, I think I'm interested in betting Navy.
You can get it sub 3. It's out there.
I'm seeing that right now. That's what I was waiting for. Now I got to make a real decision.
We're going to get to best bets in just a second. We'll do one more game, though. And again, I just want to mention, if you guys haven't been in the marketplace, come check it out. The links are below. You can get that. Again, I talked about the link join earlier in the show where you can get anything for a month just by signing up with one of our partners. But if you want to just sign up traditionally, Those links are below too. It's just a great time in there. So many sports, awesome community, not just bets, talking through spreads, getting updates on all this info for college sports. It makes the difference. We'll see you in there. Make sure you say what up and join Discord too. It's included, not just with the app. Let's talk about Louisiana Monroe. You kind of tipped your hand a little bit. I think you said you lean towards them. You can catch 7 and a hook. What's the deal with the old Warhawks? They've had a pretty good year.
They have had a good year, and they've who's like the best comparison for this? This is like the team that just greases it up every week, plays super slow, extremely run heavy. Just they create as much volatility. They're like Vanderbilt. They're like Vanderbilt of the G5.
Yeah, I like that though when you're overmatched. Why not?
Their new head coach is doing that, and it has worked flawlessly because they've picked up wins they shouldn't have. Like this team they need one more win to go to a bowl.
Yeah,
Louisiana, their win total this year was 1.5, and they're 5-3.
And it was 1.5, and they had I don't even know. They had like either Alcorn State or Jackson State.
State.
Yeah, so it was really 0.5.
Well, speaking to their grease them up wins, they had a 16% post-game win expectancy against Troy, 20% against James Madison. They ended up getting victories in both of those games. But even in some of their losses, like they only lost to Marshall by 5, this team is just mucking up games with the way they play. And I'm worried about that against Texas State, who lost Jordan McLeod in the last game. It's an ankle injury, which has me nervous. I will say their backup is RJ Martinez. I believe he came from Baylor. So this isn't like some walk-on or something. I think he's going to be competent out there, but losing McLeod is a pretty big loss for this team. They also have a ton of injuries on defense. Bobby Crosby, he's their nickel. He's been out multiple games. Caleb Coleman, same thing. He was the replacement for Crosby. Caleb Culp at safety got hurt in their last game. And Ben Bell, one of their best edge rushers, which is like the best thing Texas State does on defense. He's missed multiple games now. So I'm just concerned with the defense. McLeod obviously is worth multiple points to the spread if he were to miss the game. And Louisiana Monroe is basically healthy. I don't have a single player flagged for injury. It's just, can they actually get it done against this team and cover a spread? Armenta, the new QB, is basically a game manager, 58% completion, 7.9 yards per attempt. Their line is a little better than you might expect, 76th in pass blocking, 120th in run blocking. But Texas State's defense, their only weakness is in coverage, 114th. You'll need to be able to throw it over them. That's really my biggest question is, can like Armenta and these receivers take advantage of that? I think the answer might be yes with the injuries Texas State has. But yeah, I mean, it's just like the QB situation is so important here.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, McLeod's not a normal signal caller. I've seen the backup. You mentioned he's not bad. He's functionable, but still 7.5 points to cover on the road is a lofty task. I hope Louisiana Monroe makes a bowl. That would be very, very cool for them. They haven't been good.
Who do they have left? I'm going to look it up.
I mean, did they play Louisiana? Did they already play Louisiana?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they did not.
That's their rival. They play them.
That's the last game of the year. That's rivalry. Holy smokes. They might not make a bowl. They played Texas State, Auburn, Arkansas State, and Louisiana. They kind of
Auburn. That'll be no problem.
That's true. They're going to beat Auburn, go to a bowl, and then rest is easy. This is a really hard schedule to end the year.
Didn't Auburn lose to a made-up school last year?
New Mexico State.
There you go.
Pavia got him.
Yeah, of course. Pavia got him last week too. So that's funny. I didn't even think about that. All right. Again, friends, I'm going to ask if you made it this far. Hit that like button. Links are below. All that good stuff with Betting You. We've got so much. And it's getting serious now with the college football playoff rapidly approaching. But let's put a bow on this greasy edition of Betting You Overtime. What are the bets that we talked about that you think are on the priority list if we're stacking them?
Can I add one? I am an idiot, and I forgot to put my favorite bet on the list.
Yes, absolutely.
It's UConn over UAB. Anything inside 7, I think 7 is fine. I'm considering alternate lines on this game. Why is UAB under a touchdown in this game? UConn should absolutely smash them. I don't have a lot of injuries for both these teams, at least not new ones. And UAB still doesn't have Jacob Zeno. I don't think we see him. They're absolutely decimated on their offensive line. Multiple receivers have been missing time. Their defense has multiple injuries. And I think, like they showed a pulse last week and beat Tulsa. That's Tulsa.
Did you see those numbers?
Yeah, we bet the over in that game. That was UAB almost had it by themselves in the first half.
Kitna had 6 or 7 touchdowns on his own.
I don't think that happens here. Like UConn's defense.
Tulsa.
Yeah, I honestly I thought Tulsa was going to be better than that. I don't have any words. But UAB can't run the ball. They run like a kind of an air raid. UConn's defense is 32nd in coverage, is by far their best unit. They have a great offensive line. This team is second in the country in run blocking. And then their receivers are quietly like these have Skylar Bell's on this team, Josiah Gathings. These are good receivers. UAB is going to have to defend them. I know it's on the road, but man, I absolutely love UConn in this spot.
I mean, also UAB's defense, they can't exactly stop the run or really anything, but they should be gashed.
They're 127th in total defense.
Awful.
I can't believe I forgot to put this on the list. I'm a moron.
Well, that's why we do it in the best bets section. People are here. So let's start with UConn. What else do we got?
UConn is number 1. From there's a couple that I'm waiting on just for better numbers and injuries that we talked about. I'll kind of rank them in order of preference. Navy against USF, that's kind of already teetering into a range that I'm interested in betting. So I'm probably going to take that one. The over in Virginia Pitt, Miami, Georgia Tech, the big news there is just what does Haynes King look like? And then the Minnesota Rutgers game is going to depend on Rutgers injuries. So I guess to rank them, it's UConn 1. I'll go Navy 2. I'm going to put Miami 3.
Okay, I'll throw Miami in here. And I'm going to throw just to put a bow on it. I'm going to take 15.5 with Arkansas State. I think you can get a little better, but even if it doesn't move, I would be willing to take north of 2 touchdowns. What I think is going to be a really competitive game. Louisiana is a good team. They're going to score. Arkansas State can match them blow for blow for a while, I think. I think that's a pretty reasonable number to catch, even on the road against a team that is better than you. There we have it, friends. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you have any questions at all, games we didn't get to, of course, we'll see in Discord, but Matt_Gajeski on Twitter, at JazzRazBets on Twitter. Let's keep it going. You had a great card last Saturday. Let's duplicate it. We'll get some props in there and we'll call it a week. So for me, for Matt, and for all of us here at Odd Shopper, good luck. Enjoy college football Saturday. We'll see you next week.